So, if none of you ride a bike, or if any of you might wonder who would ride a bike in Bangkok, and I wondered when I was asked to do this, is there any bike culture in Bangkok? So, I love this graphic a friend of mine designed. I'm hoping he will make it into a t-shirt because I've been a sucker for all bike-related t-shirts, as you can see. But when I moved here, I brought bicycles with me, and I decided to make that my primary form of transportation. When I lived in America, I was a bike commuter a couple of different times. In Los Angeles, an unlikely place to ride a bike, but I didn't have the money for a car when I moved there, and I just used a bike to get around. I found it to be a liberating and easy way to see the place, and they had great weather, so it always worked out. Later I found myself in Boston, and again I turned to the bicycle to get around because it was too difficult to have a car there. It was a lot like Bangkok, and no place to park, really terrible traffic. So I had experience riding a bike in many places, and when I chose to move here, I came with my partner who had a travel allowance. We were able to bring a shipment, so I brought over 3 bicycles that I currently had. One that I used in Boston, another mountain bike a friend had given me. He was trying to encourage me into off-road riding, which was not something I had ever done in the past. And I had also taken time when I finished graduate school. I took the opportunity to achieve a goal I had, which was to ride across America. So I took 3 months out of my life, and I packed my bicycle with everything I would need to survive, and started riding from the Atlantic Ocean. Kept going about 100 kilometers a day until I made it to Oregon. I rode through 10 states, and that's where I kind of realized that it's possible to go almost anywhere on a bicycle. So when I chose to come to Bangkok, I just thought nothing of bringing the bikes and just setting out on them. Now, when you think of Bangkok, traffic is one of the first things that comes to mind, and I certainly experienced it when I got here, and I just decided after 7,000 kilometers across America, I'd ridden through enough traffic, I wasn't going to let it stop me. So I just hit the road running, started to explore the small sois around my house. I saw so many things I would probably never have seen if I was in a taxi or SkyTrain on foot. So I found it a great, liberating experience here to be out around on a bicycle, but I also found it to be a very solitary experience. I moved here about 5 years ago, and now you see quite a few people on bikes, but back then, I never saw anyone on a bike other than maybe the squid guy honking his little horn, the squid press, or the 3-wheel bike covered with brooms and feather dusters. But as a foreigner and as a person on like a fancier mountain bike or a road bike, I just felt like nobody did it, and I wondered, where are the people using bikes? I started working, and I commuted to work daily by bicycle. I was quite lucky in that my office was close to home, so even though I had to show up in a shirt and tie, I could get there quick enough on a bike that I wasn't already breaking a sweat. If I chose to walk, I'd probably take a little too long in the heat, or it would take me 2-3 times as long if I was going to ride in a taxi or get there. I lived on Saton, so to get to the SkyTrain would take me longer than to actually just get to work by walking or the bike. But I never saw anyone out there riding. And then one day, I saw this sign. This was about 4 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when I first arrived. But I was quite surprised to see this on Saton Road, green Bangkok, showing a guy in his business suit riding into work to the office with a briefcase. And I thought, this isn't going to happen. Who's going to do this? And the infrastructure just wasn't there. I mean, I was used to traffic, so I just rode. I just made my way through, pushed my way past the cars and the motorcycles. But they really don't have bike lanes or things that you would need to encourage people to get out and do this. But a couple weeks later, I was very surprised to find this in front of my house on Saton. they actually were making some progress. And you know, one day I saw the line appear a few feet from the curb, and I thought, wow, that would actually make a great bike lane. What are they doing? And came home the next day, and they'd actually come out and painted the signs. So I was encouraged that Bangkok is actually trying to become a bike-friendly city. But with encouragement also comes discouragement. It wasn't that much longer till, you know, they started to build this new cement thing down the side of the bike lane, right in the middle. I mean, I later discovered they were just raising Saton Road again to prevent flooding. So ultimately, they put the road back up to this new curb that they stuck in the middle of the bike lane, and it went back to becoming its usual taxi parking space. If you ever go down Saton, you know that the Banyan Tree Hotel, the bike lane is a very great place to get a cab, because there's so many. But the Saton bike lane does fare better than many in the city. These are some examples of well thought out bike paths. I don't really agree that bike lanes should be in the sidewalk. I mean, it's not easy to ride on a sidewalk when people are trying to work or sell whatever noodles they're making. But here, a traffic sign obviously trumped the need for someone's idea for a bike lane. So they just plopped the pole right in the middle. Again, this one, I don't see where, you know, a bicycle is going to get through there without mauling down all these passengers. My favorite one, though, is probably this.
Oh my goodness!
This one is in Sukhumvit. I don't know if it's still there, but I couldn't quite believe that. It's nice to have a green city, but so. As I said, I was a solitary bike rider for probably 3 years. I went almost everywhere by bike, but never rode with anyone. I had actually heard of an organization. It's called the Bangkok Bike Hash. It's a monthly group, mostly foreigners. We get together and head out of Bangkok somewhere and ride. And I finally did meet them in 2009, 3 years after getting here. I'd heard about it sooner, but I lost my mountain bike to theft as well as one of my road bikes. Unfortunately, the locks available here are not as strong as the cutters people have to So yeah, parked right by my house in Silom or outside my office in Saton. I lost 2 of the bikes that I first brought. Once I got a better job with a bigger salary, but also a farther commute, I decided to invest in a good bike, and I got myself a mountain bike, and finally made it out to ride with a group of people. It felt really good to be among you know, like-minded individuals, but it wasn't really a Bangkok thing. It was people who live in Bangkok leaving the city, going outside, Kanchanaburi, Khao Yai, Sowerbury, places like that. So it opened up my eyes to a lot of the country I'd never get to see, and some beautiful riding with no traffic, no people other than the other cyclists. The big thing about the bike hash is also drinking. After every ride, people are put in a circle, and people get singled out for whatever offenses they created on the trail that way and are forced to drink beer. It's very, very frat-like experience, which is not quite to my taste. So I was actually really excited a few months after meeting this group of people to be over at the Bangkok Art and Culture Center for an art opening one night, and happened to get to the ground floor and look outside, and I said, oh great, somebody rode their bike to the museum. Then I walked out to look, and it was about 100 bikes. I was like, oh, okay, something's going on. And I found out that there are people riding bikes in Bangkok, but they do it at night. I hadn't realized this, and so yeah, I asked somebody what was going on. They said every Friday they meet and they ride. It turns out every Friday they meet somewhere other than the museum, but the last of the month they meet at the museum. So later on, when I went out in search of them, I couldn't find them because they weren't there, but I happened to ride past Chamturi Square, which is where they met the normal week. So I started to ride, and it's a diverse group of people. My Thai would be described as survival at best, so I don't really get to talk about a whole lot with them. There's a few people who had lived in America or have strong English, so I know what's going on for the most part. But Usually I show up and find out where we're going. It's just great to be, in a group, like we can take over an intersection, wait for the light. You don't have to worry about the traffic because we are the traffic. It's nice, and it's different than just being out there on your own. Through them, I was able to find out about other bigger activities that I had no idea existed. This was a ride to Hoi Hin. It was a charity for N1H1, I believe, and 500-600 people did this ride, starting at like 6 in the morning, all-day ride down to Hoi Hin with transport back to Bangkok. I think it was 200 kilometers or so that we did that day. So it was a good day. This was an event called Car Free Day, and actually it's happening again next week. It's an annual event, and it's a way that people can raise advocacy for new cycling options. This was people on their bikes in the form of the country of Thailand. So I unfortunately hadn't signed up early enough to be part of the picture, but I was up there watching as they did it. So anybody interested could show up next Sunday. Find it on the web. There's more details, about 10 places that the rides will start, and everyone will join at Sanam Luang for the opening ceremony. And there'll be lots of vendors and people out there promoting bicycling in Bangkok. From this kind of advocacy, certain programs were started. This was the Bangkok Smile Bike. These bikes were available free around the old city, sort of the Grand Palace, various places. Unfortunately, I just learned a few days ago that I believe this program expired, and now all these bikes are in storage somewhere. There is good hope that they'll get the contract again, and the bikes will be back and available. It was just a way that tourists or locals could get out and see the city, by an alternate means than they were used to. And it's a great way to get around that part of town. When I think about bike culture, I always think of like bike messenger culture, because it's such a big thing in New York, San Francisco, places like that. It's not really been something here, but a small group of people that were part of the original group I met decided to do something else with the time they spent biking, and they started this small company. And after a year, apparently the demand is greater than the capacity they have, so they're doing actually quite well. So I'm encouraged to see new businesses around bicycling and other things that are happening. It gives me hope for the future. This is a great little place. It's called Pedalicious. It's a cafe with a bicycle theme. They provide parking for your bike out front. A free lock is available, so you can ride up. When you get there, you get a welcome drink if you rode in on your bike. They've got nice displays. Various things are for sale or just on display. A huge library of books about biking are also at the ready. This is currently on display at TCDC, the Creative Design Center. Everything was labeled in Thai, so I didn't get a whole lot out of this exhibit, but there are various fixed-geared groups and other people putting in bikes that are just getting well known in Bangkok. So I was excited. I heard about it and wanted to see it, and it was good to see. Just to show how things are really changing, I saw this sign as I was riding on Rama 3. It's a new condo, expensive, big condo production that's happening, but they show this guy coming home, pushing in his bike with his helmet on the side and his suit. So it's like they're obviously trying to promote bicycling as something. And I'll just leave you with my favorite bike of the moment is the one I built myself. I made this bike from bamboo when I did a workshop last year in Brooklyn. And what I do hope to do now is get myself set up and keep building more of these bikes here in Bangkok. And I'm excited to try and take a renewable resource and apply it to another thing that is environmentally friendly. So I have great hope that Bangkok will become a more bike-friendly city. Regardless, I'll be out there on my bike all the time, but I hope to see more and more people. I never ride somewhere without seeing at least a few people on bikes nowadays, which is great compared to the old days when I felt like I was the only person. Anyway, I hope to see some of you out there on the road one day.